It's 2017, it's a brand new year, so why don't we all make a resolution that we're just gonna try and enjoy Raw and take it for what it is? No? Okay, fair enough. But I'm Simon from WhatCulture and you're watching Ups and Downs, where we basically review Raw and give each segment an up if it's good, or give each segment a down if it's bad. And it's as simple as that. So let's get to it by upping some downs. The biggest segment of the night was obviously the return of Goldberg, who did take part in the first ever The Kevin Owens Show talk show. Which is a bit of a mouthful when you say it out loud. Was this a little bit weird? Yes, it was a little bit weird, because everyone seemed to have to be involved, from Goldberg to Jericho to Strowman to Reigns, and at times the whole thing felt a bit scripted, where everyone just had to get their shtick in. But I still get such a massive kick out of seeing Goldberg on Raw, and the set for the Kevin Owens show was so ridiculous that I was thoroughly entertained. Also, that double spear with Roman Reigns and Goldberg was pretty good. Whatever it takes, WWE, right? Whatever it takes. Still, the whole thing gets it up. The biggest down of the night is WWE's treatment of Rusev. What the hell is going on? I've got no problem with Big Cass being competitive in their handicap match, but why the hell was he allowed to dominate the whole match? I mean, do whatever you want with Jinder Mahal. I don't care about that. But when it comes to the Bulgarian Brute, can WWE really not see the upside this dude has? Apparently not, because Cass did run through everybody until he got distracted when Jinder went after Enzo in his wheelchair. Which was a bit weird, because why is Enzo still in a wheelchair after last week he pretty much told us that he didn't actually need to be in a wheelchair? So now he's just some guy in a wheelchair. Doesn't need to be in a wheelchair. I thought the New Day Titus O'Neil stuff on Raw was pretty good, although be it a bit long. But still, giving it an up. If you're gonna have Titus around, you may as well use him in some fashion as opposed to just have him vanishing off in the background. And this allowed Xavier Woods to get a win on TV and gets the New Day through another week. And the whole thing with Titus wanting to join the New Day was all right. The question now is, what's next for the New Day? They're clearly out of the title program, so don't tell me we're just going to see Titus and New Day segments for the next month. Either way, interesting, we'll see what's next. We hadn't had much bickering between Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley as 2016 was drawing to a close, but we had loads of that last night, which is a down. The entire opening segment hit a huge roadblock when Steph and Mick did start arguing with each other, and it got even worse when Mick Foley said that Chris Jericho should be banned in the match between Roman Reigns and Chris Jericho. Right, nobody cares whether there's a power struggle or not. Hell, even Kevin Owens said that nobody cares before dubbing both himself and Chris Jericho as national treasures, which they are. Either way though, the less of that the better. It's just not fun to watch, and like I already said, nobody cares. Or you may care, I don't know, and if you do, that's great. You got a segment you liked, but I didn't care, therefore as I said, it gets a down. An up, however, was everything that Jerry KO did at the start of Raw. If you had any thoughts that the chemistry between the two may have started to wane, well, they proved you wrong within minutes, especially when Chris Jericho described him being in a shark cage as him looking like a sexy piñata. That's just great. Months ago, I said I bet Sami Zayn gets fed to Braun Strowman and it does nothing for Sami's career. And here we are a few months later, and I was absolutely right. And that's a down. Now, I like Strowman. I think he has a huge upside, and I especially enjoy his theme music, which just starts with him screaming. I look forward to that each and every week. Plus, I get what WWE is trying to do. They want to make him a monster, and so far, he looks like a monster, so that's an up. But the fact that all of this is at the expense of Sami Zayn is no good for anybody. He's a named opponent, so it makes sense. But he got absolutely mauled last night on Raw, and following his victory last month, which obviously wasn't a victory, Sami now is just being eaten alive, and the match itself was great. I really enjoyed it. But Sami got nothing from it. It all helps Braun, which is really cool. But what do you do with Sami after this? I like the match between Cesaro and Carl Anderson, so we're just going to give it up. It seems like Gallows and Anderson are next in line for a title shot, and I'm completely fine with that, as long as WWE heats them up properly. Plus, I enjoyed Sheamus on commentary, bigging up his own team. It was just a solid outing that probably plants the seed for their match at the Royal Rumble. Now we just have to let the story build over the next few weeks. Nice. A quick down though, for Sheamus talking about the differences in clothing between him and Cesaro. What the f***? The Chris Jericho versus Roman Reigns match was good, mostly because Jericho pulled out the Eddie Guerrero, "Oh, I'm gonna pretend I've been hit by an object and just lay down on the floor" technique. So he gets an up. It does seem bizarre to me though that WWE didn't take this opportunity to give Chris Jericho the US title. I mean, the stipulation was there. If Roman got counted out or DQ'd, he'd lose the belt. So you didn't even have to job the guy out. I mean, what does Roman do with the US title at the moment? Absolutely nothing. And now that he's back in the Universal title picture, he doesn't need it. If this all builds to him being a double champion when you could have just put it on Chris Jericho, I'm going to be very upset. That was a down. I don't think the plan with the Cruiserweights is awful at the moment, and I can see what WWE is trying to achieve, but even with all that said, it's still getting a down. Why? Because there's simply not enough time given to each segment that makes me want to tune in to 205 Live. We got a snippet with Noam Dar and Cedric Alexander, who also had a quick match with Drew Gulak, and then we had another brief encounter between TJ Perkins and Brian Kendrick. And then before you could say Bob's your uncle, it was all over and done with for the week. I get it. All of this is supposed to make me want to tune in to the Cruiserweight Show, but it just doesn't. Instead, they all come across like afterthoughts, and afterthoughts is not what we need. Apart from Neville. Neville at the moment is the best person on the roster, and therefore, he gets an up. Sasha Banks returning was fine, Bayley beating Nia Jax was fine, but nothing gave me more hope than watching the segment between Bayley and Stephanie McMahon. For years, we've been waiting to see Steph get her comeuppance, and surely, after she tore Bayley to shreds, she is going to be the person to hand out this comeuppance on her way to becoming the new women's champion. I hope so anyway. It would finally give us what we've all wanted to see over these years and probably cement Bayley's position on the main roster. So that, for now, is an up. The final down of the day goes to the overuse of the term shark cage, which was said so much throughout Raw, it has now lost all meaning and sounds absolutely ridiculous, and it was pretty ridiculous to begin with. I mean, it's a shark cage, and you're putting a man in it. And that's that! The first Raw of the year is done and dusted, and it was an alright show. It was nothing special, but I enjoyed it, and you know why that is? Because I always enjoy it, and now you're all mad, but it's alright, because I love you. Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about Raw, and then like, share, subscribe, head on over to WhatCulture.com to read the Ups and Downs article, and follow me on Twitter at SimonMiller316. I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and yes, I have grown a beard. And yeah, it looks a bit bad at the moment, but maybe I grow it out so it's like Braun Strowman length, and then when I walk into a room, I can go, "Daw!" and people be scared of me. Maybe not.
WCPW proudly presents Kirby Mania, featuring all your favorite WCPW stars, including Bully Ray, Marty Scurll, Joe Hendry, Rampage, Moss and Slater, the WCPW champion Drew Galloway, and the man himself, Martin Kirby. Kirby Mania, Liverpool, January the 5th, 7:30, 2:30 Eastern, live on WhatCulture Wrestling.